Alright, that's it. Where is the Nintendo Switch 2? I'm tired of playing on this thing. The Switch is undoubtedly a fantastic concept. Personally, I think this is the peak idea of gaming. You get console power on the go. I think Nintendo definitely knows this and will keep the idea going, because you can't really get too much better than that. The system itself has also really become iconic, and I just don't think they're ready to get rid of the brand that easily. The system aside, Nintendo has also changed their online to literally be called Nintendo Switch Online. They were just to move on from that would be pretty silly, as they've worked really hard rebranding their whole online system from Nintendo Network to what we have now, adding tons of features to the online. It would just feel odd, and I don't think that's a likely choice they will make. So what would be the actual improvements for their console is a good question, as they can't just re-release the same thing. They've already done that. But this thing could really uses a goddamn cup holder. Shit don't even work. Honestly, aside from power, I really hope there's not too much change. Keep the OLED screen, better battery, better Joy-Cons, not only in the thumbsticks, but also maybe newer triggers, and I think we're golden. Maybe some more internal storage, but really, with how great Nintendo is at utilizing space, storage for me has not really been too big of an issue, especially with how cheap micro SD cards can be. Overall, keep the OLED design, and crank the power up to about a PS4 level, maybe even PS4 Pro level. PS4s are still capable of running amazing looking games like God of War Ragnarok, Elden Ring, Spider-Man, all these Call of Duties. I just think that this is really what the Switch needs, as some games definitely struggle, but a lot still run perfectly fine on it in the first place. I think a power boost would also help maybe stop how many ports we get of older games and also give us newer games from the third-party companies. I'm getting a little sick of ports from the Xbox 360 era, honestly. 7 years into the Nintendo Switch and still no port of Fester's Quest. I mean, what is going on? But what good is a console without a name? I truly believe the Nintendo Switch was a fantastic recovery and reset for Nintendo after the Wii U, truly kickstarting them into a new era of gaming. I think a good way to reflect on this reset would be naming it after the sequel to their roots, on the NES to the SNES, by calling it the Super Nintendo Switch. I think it captures the history of Nintendo, focuses on being a better Switch, and in general just sounds really nice. Honestly, I really don't know what else they would call the Super Nintendo Switch. All I know is the name Near Replicant version 1.22474487139 is apparently taken. It sucks. When the Nintendo Switch launched, there was one title in particular that truly carried the launch lineup. That's right, Skylanders Imaginators. Give it up for Skylanders Imaginators. Truly carried all the dust on the shelf. Got clearance out to 5 below. Anyways, in all seriousness, the Nintendo Switch launch lineup was really carried by Zelda Breath of the Wild. Whether you like it or not, it's just the truth. The craziest thing is, it wasn't even technically exclusive, as it was also on the Wii U. Games like Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, 1-2 Switch, and Super Bomberman R were also really helpful to have on launch too, as it kind of helped carry my interest, at least personally. But looking back, Zelda did most of the carrying. Once we got to April, the big game for that month was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which wasn't also really an exclusive. Yes, the deluxe version is, but it's just an enhanced version of Mario Kart 8 from the Wii U. Really, it took until June for our first big, I would say, Nintendo exclusive game, which was ARMS. And it's ARMS, it sure is. But after June, Nintendo did really kick it into high gear that first launch year with Mario Odyssey, Fire Emblem Warriors, Xenoblade 3, Mario plus Rabbids, Splatoon 2, they're all some phenomenal games for the first year of a system. Now the real question is, what could the Super Nintendo Switch learn from all of this? What can it learn from all this? What can it learn from all this? We didn't plan this far ahead. Skylanders Imaginators 2, let's go! The big thing that the Super Nintendo Switch could take away from the first year of the Nintendo Switch is prioritizing variety and a solid flow of it. I think another thing that would greatly help keep things interesting is take a page out of Xbox's playbook with Xbox One to Xbox Series X and have full backwards compatibility. It's crucial and key. Offer free upgrades to Switch games to Super Switch games. I'm sure that'll be the case for some of those games. This helps prevent an overwhelming amount of ports, which typically generates some annoyance, at least for myself. And the free upgrades is also a super consumer-friendly touch that I just love. Oh man, I'm just getting giddy with the thought of being able to play Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdoms in a stable 33 FPS! But yes, there is a danger to a reliance on backwards compatibility that I really want them to avoid. And I feel like Xbox and PlayStation are very guilty in their current generations of heavily relying on that, at least during the initial release of their consoles. It's really a balancing act that Nintendo should be aware of if they decide to have backwards compatibility. But what's a console without its games, you might ask? Well, let's ask the Samsung Nuon. Samsung Nuon, take it away. Well, that's just depressing. Now, this is how I think that a Super Nintendo Switch's launch will kind of go. Probably not all of this day one, but very, very early on. However, I do think the day one launch title very well could be Metroid Prime 4. Has a similar hype build-up towards Breath of the Wild, and I think that Breath of the Wild, it'll also be both on Nintendo Switch and Super Nintendo Switch, like how it was on Wii U and normal Nintendo Switch. I kind of get Luigi's Mansion GameCube release vibes from this idea, however, where people may not see it as something as big as Mario or Zelda, but I think it is not only likely, but if marketed right, could be a huge launch title for the system and the Metroid series in general. Now, I think a party family game is very crucial to have early on in the Switch's life cycle. With the Switch, we got 1-2 Switch and Snipper Clips, which I feel are both very family friendly and just get everyone involved. Same with Mario Kart Deluxe being an early title. You know, gamers buy the Switch, but family is still a very key market for the system. And I think that the possibilities are pretty open, but also very clear. I think it's quite likely we get a new Mario Party. It's been a while since we've had one, and they've seemed to maybe want to have these on somewhat of a schedule. I also think that we can maybe see something like 1-2 Switch or Snipper Clips level as well, though, like extremely early on, maybe even launch. A small little title like Snipper Clips, I definitely could see. Hell, maybe even get a sequel. That would be pretty crazy. Probably not. But I do think a party game is in order just to entice everyone. Maybe a new Mario Kart. Maybe new Mario Kart DLC. I have no clue. But I also think other crucial thing could be a new Nintendo Switch Online service, like GameCube support. And it could even be exclusive to Super Switch because of newer Joy-Cons that can support the GameCube triggers. I don't know, very long shot, but I think this would all be very cool. And also I think it's pretty possible. For third-party support, it's very likely we will see stronger support if the power is something along the Xbox One and PS4, since companies are still supporting that technology. I think Ubisoft would be highly likely to continue supporting the Switch, as they already have been, but they could also bring over their more so later titles, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example. Those were on Xbox One and PS4. They have just, again, been in general very strong supporters of the Switch, and I would be shocked if we don't see day one launch titles from them. I also think we could see some Bethesda support, because they've been supporting Doom 1 and Eternal are on the Switch, and also all 3 Doom games are on the Switch, so very likely, and Skyrim. So I think it's possibly with Super Switch we could see the Fallout games make it, maybe 3, New Vegas, even 4. I also think indie companies like Yacht Club Games will definitely be there day one too, with something, maybe their new game Mina the Hollower. It's all a possibility that I think is very, very likely to happen. For the long run of the Super Nintendo Switch, I think the following games are highly likely to happen. Pokemon Black and White remakes, Pokemon Legends 2, being related to Pokemon Black and White somehow. Mario Odyssey 2, I think is just begging to happen. I would be shocked if that is not the next Mario game. I hope it is. New Donkey Kong of some sort, maybe Country, maybe 3D. I would love that. That'd be so cool. And I think Donkey Kong hasn't really gotten a lot of love for the Switch so far. I know it got Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Funky Kong mode. It's a great addition. And a new Monolith Soft IP. I think it's about time. They've pretty much finished Xenoblade. If they make another one, it'll probably be different. Who knows what they'll do? They're crazy over there. Overall, I think these are some really strong contenders and just likely to happen based on timing and where these IPs and companies are at. Well, there you have it. This is what I dream a Super Nintendo Switch 2 situation will be like. Now, do I think all this will be right? Of course, I'm a genius. Did I account for every single wildcard possibility? Of course, I'm a genius. Really though, I think the Super Nintendo Switch, whatever Nintendo decides to put out next, is going to be a whole lot of fun, and it might just be something like this. However, I do think the name Super Nintendo Switch sounds dumb now, so I got the real name here. The Nintendo Switch Near Replicant version 1.22474871139. You just really don't know a console till you know their social security number.